How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Guys, we're going to go over a shoplifting horror. It really is. It's a scary situation that happened out of Canton, Ohio. And it was on Thursday, December 18, 2025 at approximately 1:45 p.m. Officers with the Canton Police Department responded to a reported shoplifting incident at a Walmart on Atlantic Boulevard, Northeast in Canton, Ohio. The two suspects that were arrested were Shane C. L. Newman, who's 21, and Katarina Jeffrey, 23. They have been detained by Walmart asset protection staff. But what happens in this room, to me, is extremely scary. Working with inmates, I am used to dealing with individuals in confined spaces, but this, it's truly scary. I'm going to go over some of Walmart policies as well. I think it's going to be interesting to kind of take a look at that, but also to get a better understanding of their policies when it comes to shoplifters. But I want to show you guys the video. This is going to be the approach. And then this is going to be bringing them to the room and then what happens. And Walmart's policy has this 5-step protocol that I want to go over. That's interesting. But let's look at this video first. I think you'll find this interesting. Hi, sir. So there's the two coming out now, Katarina and they just got caught. So I want to, let me just actually mention something before we watch the video. Let me give you this policy first. So Walmart Assets Protection Model, consistent with long-standing retail industry standards, relies on a multi-element observation process designed to prevent false accusations and wrongful detentions. So again, this is not about safety and security when they built these policies. They're building it based on false accusations and wrongful detentions. Because right off the bat, this is probably about prosecution in the long run. I'm sure that's the case too. That's probably the bigger element. But again, it's not really built around safety and security. It's built on dealing with the false accusation. That's why they have to wait for the person to leave so they can get the intent. And God forbid they put somebody in a room and they're detaining them and they're not guilty. So this 5-step approach kind of handles that. The 5-step model. The first part is the approach. You have to see the suspect approach the merchandise, and you have to ensure items were not brought from outside. That's key. So when they're watching people live, they're also watching video, I'm assuming, to kind of see their movements. Then the selection. Witness the suspect select specific items and confirm what was taken. So by the way, this is all going on behind the scenes in real time. Then the concealment. Observe the act of concealing the merchandise or the continued control of the unpaid items. Then you have the continuous observation. You got to maintain unbroken visual contact. Suspect cannot leave sight and return. That's key. And then the exit and failure to pay. Suspect passes all points of sale without paying, and that establishes intent to steal. Only after all 5 elements are observed can detention occur. Now, mind you guys, that's all happening in real time. So they're watching the videos, they got someone watching them live, and it's just a lot going on. But again, it's built around avoiding a false accusation and then obviously illegally detaining them. There is a hands-off policy for Walmart. Walmart employees are generally prohibited from chasing suspects beyond the parking lot perimeter, physically restraining suspects except in self-defense, blocking exits with physical force, and pursuing into vehicles. What Walmart policy does not address is weapon detection, so there's no pat-downs or screenings, threat assessment, so theft behavior only, not violent risk, background checks, so no access to criminal history, and armed resistant protocols. So once inside the loss prevention office. So again, there's a lot going on here. That's why it's very beneficial for them to have off-duty police officers. So this creates an information void where employees and officers operate blind to the most critical risk factors, whether the suspect is armed and willing to use violence. Also, they don't know nothing about these individuals. That's why for Walmart, Target stores like this, you want to have someone that's off duty because they have greater access. Someone had asked the question, is there an inherent flaw in retail loss prevention models that rely on confined detentions, especially when employees have no way to know whether a suspect is armed or desperate? And I wanted to note that the flaw isn't negligence, it's limitation. These policies are designed to prevent lawsuits, not predict violence. Asset protection staff are trained to identify theft behavior, not threat behavior. That means the system accepts a level of risk by design. Most of the time it works, but when it fails dramatically because there's no mechanism to account for a hidden weapon or a suspect who decides violence is preferable to arrest. I'm going to kind of go into more detail in a little bit about the exit requirement of Walmart. And then I want to also discuss a little bit more about bringing somebody into a confined space. But I just wanted to get that part out. And I did that so we can kind of have a better understanding of what we're looking at. So again, prior to all this happening, they went through this 5-step model. They should have. They're going to see the person approach the merchandise. They're going to ensure the items were not brought in from the outside. Then you're going to see this is probably like if they get wind of somebody that's stealing, someone's going to be looking at the video, probably rewinding it back to get things from the beginning. And then there should be somebody watching them in real time so we don't lose track of them. So then you get the selection, a witness, the suspect, select the specific items, confirm what was taken. Then you got to observe the act of concealing the merchandise or continued control of unpaid items. And then you got continuous observation, so maintain unbroken visual contact. Suspect cannot leave sight and return. And then they have to go through, the suspect must pass through all points of sale without paying. And that's where you get the intent to steal. But look at that small little window to act on. That's a very small little window. It's pretty much between when they get checked out by security, like when they show their receipts, to the exit, which is what? A couple of feet? All right, let's play this.
This way, guys. Yeah, probably. Unless you guys did something crazy. You didn't do anything crazy, did you? Okay. You should be using a theft charge. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Here we go.
See, I want to mention something that we mentioned.
In here, guys.
Remember, they're trained on looking at the theft behavior. They may not be so much trained looking at threat. And again, that's what I'm being told. Maybe there are some that do have that type of training, but what I'm being told, they don't really understand the threat behavior. So basically for me, I'd be looking to separate them if I had the resources to do that. I wouldn't want them talking to each other because I don't know what they're planning. So my biggest thing right here is trying to separate them at first because they did a lot of communication. I have no idea what he just told her.
I don't have to go in because that's the way it is. Have a seat. Got anything on you I need to know about? Why'd your hand in your pocket?
It's not falling.
I'm gonna pat you down real quick, all right?
That's cool.
Nothing on you was gonna poke me, stab me?
No. Good dealio. It's just, yeah. Just take them out. Good dealio.
So it looks like there is a pat down procedure. So that's good. Or at least that person's making the effort to pat him down. So I don't know if that's part of their policy, but that's good. So maybe there could be some clarity here because this may not be a Walmart technically employed. This could be maybe an outside security person, or it could be maybe an off-duty police officer, because it says here, can Walmart asset protection pat down suspects? It says no. Walmart employees are not permitted to pat down, frisk, or search a suspect's body. Why not? Legal liability. A pat down is legally considered a search. If a retail employee conducts a search without lawful authority, can expose Walmart to false imprisonment claims, assault or battery allegations, civil rights lawsuits, and massive financial liability. Retail employees do not have the same legal protections as law enforcement. So it makes sense. But again, it is more about not so much about safety, but the possible lawsuit if you're wrong. And then the lack of legal authority. Pat downs are tied to reasonable suspicion of being armed, lawful detention under police authority. Only law enforcement officers have clear statutory authority to frisk for weapons. That's the Terry frisk standard, and conduct officer safety searches. Retail employees do not. Policy and training limits. Walmart asset protection training focus on observation, documentation, detention for theft only, and disengagement if violence or weapons appear. They are explicitly trained not to escalate encounters into physical searches. Safety reality, ironically, attempting the pat down would put employee within arm's reach of a weapon, increase the chance of a violent reaction, create exactly the kind of confrontation policies are designed to avoid. And from a safety standpoint, it's more dangerous, not less. What can Walmart employees do? They can observe and document theft behavior, detain under shopkeeper privilege when criteria are met, which we talked about, verbally request cooperation, call law enforcement, and disengage immediately if a weapon is suspected or revealed. They cannot pat down, search pockets, search clothing, confiscate weapons, or use force to check for weapons. So what about the police officers inside Walmart? If a law enforcement officer is present, they may conduct a limited frisk only if they have reasonable suspicion the person is armed and dangerous. Even then, it must meet constitutional standards, but that authority belongs to the officer, not Walmart. And that makes sense. So they lean on law enforcement on that. That's why some of these companies pay for that extra insurance, or they pay less insurance. I forget how that works, because I remember I used to work for Armor Vehicle, and they were hired off-duty officers because supposedly it would be less insurance, something like that. I could be wrong. Maybe you guys could fill that out. But okay, so basically that's most likely a police officer that has asked him, has prepared to pat him down.
Okay, go ahead and see. Nothing on you that I need to know about?
I do have this, this shit I stole. This bag and shit.
What's in there?
They only pay for the card. Yeah.
All right, go ahead and see for me. Anything else in there I should know about, my man? Yeah, come on.
This is a very small thing.
Pull that up like on my store,
Okay.
or like my pharmacy, you can see it's prescribed.
How do they do these?
How they do it? You stole them?
A very tight space.
They said no big.
My police company, no, right now, there's no anything in the store.
A lot of movement going on in this tight space as well.
Katarina,
Right.
what's your name?
What's up?
What's your name?
Is it?
Xavier what?
I don't have to use my glass.
Because, my man, if you don't cooperate, I'm going to put you in handcuffs.
Now, I'm assuming that's got to be. I'm assuming that's probably an off-duty officer. Now, again, you got her on the phone. We would probably not want that right now. We would want no distractions, and we have no idea who she's texting. So, I mean, hindsight 2020. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying you would probably not want her on that phone, and I would like them to be a little bit more separated.
Xavier Wells. I'll give you my real social.
I figured that was not right. Well, thank you for that.
We can get you.
Now let something crazy happen.
So you always have to worry about movements as well. I mean, that's a problem. I know she's comforted him, but that's a concern. He's moving a little bit. I don't know if that was a jacket. I probably would request for the jacket to be taken off at least. It's an outer garment. But I would be very careful of him moving. I think that this is a little bit of a ploy. I don't know if she knows or not, but this may be a little bit of a ploy here because I think he's trying to grab it and he's making it look like he's in distress. So maybe she doesn't know at this time, but I think this is really a ploy. I think he's trying to see how he can grab the gun because he does have a gun on him. He just can't do it. Watch it. See? With the hand. He didn't get it yet. That's what he's doing. I'd even have him pick up the strap. Watch that left. Watch his left hand when he does that little gesture when he slows down. All right, hold on. Watch.
Are we going to jail?
Now let something crazy happen.
And I don't think she knows. She goes right to something. He's not upset about the look at the hand. He's trying to grab something, but he just can't get it yet. Too many people watching. She thinks he's probably upset, but he's not.
I told her not to steal, bro.
Remember, he's already a former felon. And we'll get to his background.
Put an item in the bag off the shelf.
As a neighbors, please.
55-50.
Traffic. Now, right now, that's a concern. There it is. Right now, the moment he turned his head, there's no vigilance on him. He was at least how many seconds? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom, and he's going for the guy that's doing the interview. So look at that. 5 seconds.
50.
Now look, guys, he did try to pull that trigger. You can hear it, not just once, but multiple times. Thank God it didn't go off. Thank God. And this confined space puts the officers at a disadvantage because he was going to shoot him, but I think this officer knew at this point it'd be too much of a risk.
55-50.
Too close to the environment. So the officer thought better, but that's extremely good training. Look. The only thing is, where did he go at first? Did he not have his gun on? Well, he was trying to take cover, grab the weapon. I think that's what he did. So the officer that comes in, I think he's trying to take cover to maybe get a better shot or whatever he could, and he can't. There's no way he can get cover, so he goes right in. That's what it is. He tries to get cover, but he can't. He's too close. But then it's the other guy grabbing him. So it gave him an opportunity. There's one. I don't mean to be a pest. Just want to break this down real quick again. So looks like the officer here, he sees the gun. He tries to get some cover, but then once he gets in to hold him down, he quickly gets in and it becomes hands-on. There you go. They could have been going after the officer first. So that officer there may have been the one that interacted with him at the beginning and didn't
Use your hands now.
So that girl didn't know. I don't think so.
Don't touch it.
Do not touch anything.
And guys, look at the restraint. I just want to say something. This is definitely attempted murder. He tried to pull the trigger and then try to do it again. And look at the restraint on them. This person tried to kill them, but look at the restraint on these professionals. I am sure they're angry, they're frustrated, there's emotions running high, but right now they're holding their restraint. I mean, imagine having a gun pointed at your face only moments ago. And that guy pulled the trigger too.
193, send me some units.
You have to shut the front up.
Wow.
193, also send me supervisor.
He adjusted standards, so he might be like respiratory, like.
Right off the bat, I'd probably be clearing anybody out that's not involved in the security aspect of this. So I don't know, maybe she's security, I don't know.
This Mullen squad did that, bro. Put it on the run, bro.
My dad's so much worse than yourself.
It's the girlfriend.
Bro, can you just shoot me? Seriously, say that. I'm in handcuffs, bro. I'm not.
It's tough because when you do this, that person's looking to escape for whatever reason. I mean, they later find stuff on him, which we'll go over later, but he's looking to escape, which makes him very dangerous. So even though he tried to kill whoever's in that room, he's motivated probably by his want to escape, his want to not get caught, because maybe there's, as you see, he's going to get caught with, I think, 50 blue pills. He's got a couple things on him, and he's a prior felon.
Hey, let me ask you a question. You don't have to beat me up like that.
Show your daughter.
Are you kidding me? He said you don't have to beat me up like that. Are you kidding me? Did you hear that?
Hey, let me ask you a question. You don't have to beat me up like that.
Nobody did. Pointed a gun at me. Now that's
Sorry.
big thing.
Good?
Yeah.
So it's good because now the procedure is, because use of force is done, they're going to swap up. So I'm assuming he's going to start moving away, and then the other officers will take control. That's what he did. He gave him a reason to step off, calm down. Got off. So gun right to his face. Defend him that.
She with him? Yeah. She's the same here. You don't have anything on you, right?
He's wearing a shirt. Not today, Cameron.
Just a tank.
Guns over there.
I just want for clarity. So when he was originally approached, or when they were originally approached, it says Canton police officers were present as the suspects were escorted to the store's loss prevention office, which is what we thought. Obviously, we see it now. That's where the pat frisk and all that comes in, because I don't think that would have been done by a Walmart employee. At least that's what the policy says here. So they were brought to a small enclosed space commonly used for investigations. At this point, everything that followed, many would consider just standard retail theft protocol. What I don't know at this point, I don't know how long the suspects were inside the store, what specific items were allegedly stolen, the dollar value of the merchandise, and whether this was a repeat or organized theft. None of those details have been released by police or Walmart. One of the questions here I wanted to answer is when retailers like Walmart detain suspected shoplifters inside confined spaces, what inherent risks are created for employees, officers, and even customers before anyone knows how dangerous the suspects may be? So the biggest risk is that you're collapsing time, distance, and uncertainty into a single moment. Once a suspect is brought into a small room, you eliminate space, escape routes, and reaction time before you know whether that person's armed, desperate, or facing serious criminal consequences. Confined spaces turn unknowns into immediate danger. If violence erupts, there's no room to disengage or create safety, and that you could see. And everyone in that room absorbed the risk at once. And that's key. So I want to mention that again. Everyone in that room absorbed that risk at once. So I think the big thing here is the eyes on him and more control of both of them. I know it's a confined space, but maybe more separation. She shouldn't have been on the phone. I would have had him take off his jacket if he could have. I don't know if there was, it looked like there was a shirt underneath it, and he had too much movement. The moment he went down, I'm like, what are you doing, my man? Stand up, stand up, stand up. And then maybe even have, see, the only problem is if he was the only officer on scene, the Walmart employees may have a hands-off approach. So for him, because I would see him moving, if there was another officer on scene, I'd maybe put my hands on his shoulder or something, just to kind of control movement, because there was a lot of freedom there. But it's just a very confined space. That's the scary part.
Any car not out of Walmart, you should slow down.
Remember, these policies from Walmart are built really just to avoid the potential for lawsuit. They're not built on safety and security measures. That's why it's good to have the law enforcement or the off-duty law enforcement hired in these positions.
Yeah, he was real close to the shot. Come over here. I'm down to get that. Do you want her in a cruiser? Yes.
That's my stuff.
We'll get it for you in a minute. We'll get it.
So I just want to say how they're paid. So off-duty officers work in retail security are not paid by the police department for that work. They're paid through a secondary employment arrangement, usually funded by the retailer. You can get direct pay through the retailer, which is most common. Walmart contracts with individual officers or through a scheduling coordinator. The officer works off-duty outside their normal shift. Payment comes from Walmart to third-party coordinator to the officer, or Walmart to the officer directly. Pay is usually hourly, often higher than base patrol pay, and typical rates vary by region, but I've seen $40 to $75 per hour, and high crime or overnight details may pay more. The officers have to do a secondary employment. Officers not on the city payroll during this time. Officers still retain full police authority. That's the key. That's where the benefit comes for Walmart hiring the off-duty, is because they get the full police authority. So that gives them a lot of authority here to push things to be more safe and secured. If there's a city administered detail program, which is common in larger cities, Walmart pays the municipality. The city assigns officers on an overtime or detail list. The officer is paid through city payroll, and the city may take an administrative fee. This model provides insurance and administrative coverage, ensures compliance with department policies, and still costs Walmart, not taxpayers. That's the key. Walmart has to pay for it. It shouldn't come from taxpayers. And third-party security coordination companies. Walmart contracts with a security management company. That company schedules off-duty officers. Officers are paid as independent contractors or VIA payroll service, and the police department still authorizes the work. This is more common in large retail chains with many locations. And this is the key. Who covers liability here? This is the question viewers always ask. The use of force or arrest. The officer acts under color of law. Use of force incidents are reviewed by the police department, internal affairs if applicable, and the officer is legally treated as an on-duty for enforcement actions. So they're still held to the same standards. The insurance and legal defense depends on the jurisdiction and contract. Often, the city provides legal defense for law enforcement actions, and Walmart contract includes indemnification clauses. This is one reason retailers prefer off-duty police over private security. And why retailers pay for off-duty officers. Retailers get immediate arrest authority, trained response to violence, reduced employee confrontation, and lower liability than employee use of force. City benefits because no taxpayer costs, officers earn extra income, and police presence reduces crime. So that covers that aspect.
It is?
Good.
Probably have to clear the room out so we can talk. Let's go do that.
225.
What's your email saying?
Hold on. I'm going to grab my face.
Monday.com, the opposite of any.
Sorry about that. So basically, the benefit of having an off-duty officer there basically deals with the voids or the policies that Walmart
Barely saw it.
get covered.
Pulls it out. Now it's like this. Pulls it. It's quick. So I jump up. Conrad is attacking, so I couldn't get a shot off. Do you have one in the chamber? Yeah. I don't know if you have one in the chamber.
I'll go grab my camera and take pictures of all
I
that.
don't know if this is something you want BCI for, but I mean, there's no evidence really, but.
So I just want to mention something. So the officer's body camera was directed at him, which means I have a feeling the officer could have been writing something and may not have been looking at him when he was moving, because I would like to think that the officer would have addressed that. So maybe there's a chance that the camera had his eyes on him, but not the officer, maybe. Or sadly, maybe the officer didn't unfortunately react and tell the guy to stop moving or get his hands on him a little bit. But that was the body-worn camera that was on him. So it looks like the officer took the body-worn camera off, which they do, and they put it right on the suspect. But again, he's maybe filling out paperwork and then he got sidetracked. Or, I mean, it's such a confined space, it's hard for me to believe that the officer didn't see the guy moving. So he also could have failed to address that. So that definitely, for me, would be a training concern. Possible. Not bad mouth, and I could be wrong, because they're definitely they're heroes. They stopped it. But just, you take a look at these and you can figure out if there's anything that could have been done better. Because again, this is in real time, so I'm speaking from already knowing. So I do have an unfair advantage. But if I saw it this way, I would say, hey, were your eyes on this person? Because he had a lot of movement going on that wasn't addressed.
I mean, it's attempted murder.
It is attempted. He would have. Oh, he would have got me for sure. For a simple. Well, he had a warrant that he tried to lie about.
And that's what makes it more dangerous. He had a warrant.
Do you have a laser on it? When he pulled it out?
Oh, yeah.
Did it shine anything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was the first thing I saw.
There's mags loaded.
But he racked it. He pulled the trigger with the racket. Conrad came over because I got up and I was like this. Conrad's on me, get off of him. But then the kid gave up. I'm going to have to call. He got struck a couple times, but I don't think.
I wonder if that will play out in the lawsuit. I'm sorry, if this goes to court, if this goes to trial, when the cop said, but then he gave up. It'd be more like, we had to take him down. He was fighting because that's what we look. But then he said that the person gave up. I wonder if that's going to play out later on.
Yeah.
Shine anything?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was the first thing I saw.
There's mags loaded.
But he racked it. He pulled the trigger with the racket. Conrad came over because I got up and I was like this. Conrad's on me, get off of him. But then the kid gave up. I'm going to have to call.
I'm assuming when he says gave up, it's because they put the pressure on him to give up, because that did not look like he was willing to give up. One, he pointed at him, tried to fire, and then tried to do it again. And that's premeditation, by the way, guys. That's premeditation. That's not impulsive. The fact that he went to go at him again definitely makes it premeditation. Just in that moment, He could have thought better, and he did it. And when the gun didn't go off, he tries to rack it and get it going again. That's premeditation.
He got struck a couple times, but I don't think he had his head covered.
Good. What's happened?
He pointed right at my face and pulled the trigger. Under the seat.
Oh, wow. Who all was in here?
All of us. Well, 3 APME.
All right, so, you're out, so we'll do the investigation. Where they at? Where you guys?
Down here.
All right. Chill out over there for a minute.
You end up tossing the gun?
No, he ended up dropping it because he went to rack it. As he racked it, Conrad tackled him and it fell down.
That part will play out when that goes to court. The fact that he tried to fire, and when it didn't work, he racked it and was getting ready to do it again.
Sarge, I don't know if you want the DV out here for this. Get these two for theft. Have them in here. They're cooperative. He's being kind of weird, but he hands me that full of pills.
Actually, you know what's interesting here? Let me just note the time. So you can maybe, if he aimed it at his face, then you could see where the position is from the camera and where he was. I'm just curious to see that real quick.
Imagine being able to build
commercials. I'm curious to see exactly, because he said he aimed it at his face. So the camera's directly in front of him.
If you don't cooperate, crazy happens.
Let me just see. So the camera's directly in front of him. And he said he aimed it at his face. So let me just go back just a second. I paused it too late. So he's, damn it. So he's a little off. My right, your left. So, as I said, he must have seen that this guy's looking this way, no one's watching him, and he had that moment. So either they took their eyes off him, which would be a concern, or when he was moving around, no one addressed him. So you definitely have some training concerns. Just my opinion. Again, it's just my opinion.
This, Conrad's on, like, get off of him, but then the kid gave up. I'm going to have to call.
Oh, wow. Who all was in here?
All of us. Well, 3 APME.
All right, so, you're out, so we'll do the investigation. Where they at? Where you guys?
Down here.
All right. Chill out over there for a minute.
You end up tossing the gun?
No, he ended up dropping it because he went to rack it. As he racked it, Conrad tackled him and it fell down.
I'm looking to try to see how that.
Sarge, I don't know if you want the DV out here for this. Get these two for theft. Have them in here. They're cooperative.
I think it's perpendicular.
He's being kind of weird, but he hands me that full of pills.
Okay.
So I do pat him down, but I didn't get his pouch that he had. So as I'm sitting there, he lies about his name. Finally tells me it's then inquiry just told me he's got 881. So he's armed and dangerous. As soon as he does that, he pulls the gun out, puts it on my head, pulls the trigger, it doesn't go off. Conrad comes over here to tackle him. I draw. He ends up giving up. I couldn't take a shot because Conrad was on him, but gun's over there.
And the scary thing is people are shopping at Walmart not knowing that all this is happening.
Okay. Leave.
Damn.
I mean, I don't know what the protocol would be that once he pulled out a gun like that, what's the protocol for what goes on inside the main part of the store? Do they shut it down? Do they get people out? I don't know what the protocol is for that. I'll look that up.
I think they have the suspect.
Yeah, there's two suspects.
Okay, you guys. Okay, then you guys run them. Start getting. You got the male or female?
I think we have the female.
Get running all her stuff. Let's get her Form 8 going and get her out the county.
Her charge is going to be theft.
That's all. I was going to release him. That was the thing. Like, it was just going to be a summons.
Did she do anything during all this?
I mean, not the
Just the
gun part.
theft,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
She has
So
two
we can get her and cut her.
bullets
Like
in
give her.
Do
She
you
had bullets
do you
in her
want
pocket.
She has two bullets.
Make sure she's not under disability. If she is here with that too.
do you want DB to interview her though?
You know what? Yeah.
ID's already coming.
We'll go to headquarters.
You good?
I'm good. He did get struck a couple times with my fist.
That's fine. That's. I mean, the fact that that's there, and did you undo the mag, or did that just come out?
Came out when it fell.
Okay, so he probably didn't have it seated, hence the jam. And
Who is he?
Shane Newman. He doesn't have. I didn't even get hear what his warrants for.
I've arrested.
nothing serious, so it's going to be illegal.
Yeah.
So it says here, once the gun was exposed, even though it's in the confined area, obviously the theft enforcement stops entirely. Customer safety becomes a top priority. Employers are trained to stop normal duties, follow emergency directives, and help people move away from danger if possible. Depending on proximity to the incident, staff may lock or barricade interior doors, guide customers towards exit, shelter customers in safer areas like stockrooms or offices, or use emergency codes or silent alerts. Customers not expected to be detained or controlled, only protected. What shoppers typically experience is confusion, sudden employee urgency, registers shutting down, employees abandoning normal roles, people being told to leave items behind. See, this happened so quick. They got him so quick. So they may not even had a chance to enact this. If law enforcement believes there's an active threat, they may order an immediate evacuation, conduct a sweep of the building, and temporarily lock down the store. I wonder if they did all that, though, just to make sure that the threat is resolved. Even if the incident is contained in one room, the entire store is treated as potentially at risk until police clear it. So when customers are evacuated or sheltered, depends on whether the suspect is restrained, whether the weapon is secured, or whether police believe there are accomplices, whether the suspect attempted to flee, or whether shots were fired or attempted. In this case, a trigger was pulled, the gun failed, the suspect was restrained. That typically results in partial lockdown, targeted evacuation, and restricted movement inside the store. And after the incident, customers would see once the threat is neutralized, sections of the store are closed, police tape goes up, loss prevention officers are sealed, customers may be escorted out, and the store may close early or entirely. Customers are not allowed to continue shopping normally in areas connected to a violent crime, even if no one is physically injured. The psychological impact alone triggers safety protocol. And stores often close, even if there's no shot fires, because the area is a crime scene. Employees are witnesses. Surveillance footage must be preserved. Law enforcement needs time on site. Staff may be emotionally unfit to continue working. And it's just standard practice, not panic. So for the Walmart responsibility to shoppers, Walmart duty to customers during and after the incident include reasonable steps to ensure safety, cooperation with law enforcement, clear communication when possible, post-incident review of safety responses, and offering support resources if needed. Walmart is not required to guarantee absolutely safety, only reasonable response. And once a gun is involved, law enforcement takes command of the scene, not the retailer. So even though the gun was drawn in a back office, the danger doesn't stay contained to that room. Customers shopping nearby don't know where the threat is, don't know if the suspect will escape, and don't know if they're accomplices. So the store must act as if everyone at risk until proven otherwise. So again, they caught him pretty quick, but I'm assuming, I don't know what happened afterwards, but I'm assuming you would have had a lot. It's a crime scene now. So if anybody knows that, if you want to let me know what happened afterwards. Did they lock down the store? Did they reopen it quick enough? I mean, or they reopen it too quickly?
You know what? I arrested him. He had 237 bromazine pills. I got him with trafficking. He went to prison.
They know this guy.
Yep, those ones though. Those actually may be
Xannies?
No, fentanyl. Yeah, that's exactly what he was selling when I pulled him over with that girl. Or it was a different girl. The girl was real skinny. He had 237 of them.
Do you have a gun too? No, just have
Well, he's got prior to drugs, illegal conveyance of weapon for evidence in the detention facility. That alone
I was just curious to see where he was
Maybe
sitting.
Xannies?
at the
No,
time. It looks like, again, yeah, he's just right.
It's going to be attempted murder.
Well, yeah, but if I can also, I'm going to call GAMS because if we can put anything federally on him too, we'll go that route. You supposed to work today? Or was it your day off?
I took the day off. I'm supposed to work Christmas factory later.
I'm happy you're all right.
Oh, it would have been my life. I mean, pointing right at my face. Look at that.
He'll go to prison for 30 plus years.
There it is.
Hopefully they take it.
Well, he tried to do it again. Look.
Yeah.
Thank God for Conrad.
No, that's I'm putting him in for an award. But
thank God for Conrad. We should remember that. Thank God for Conrad, because Conrad acted immediately. Conrad's would save that officer's life. But yeah, he should be facing some major time. So I got a couple of things I want to go over real quick. And this was their arrest photo. He looks out of it. She just looks like she doesn't care. So I want to talk about the exit requirement, why Walmart waits. And again, it's more about the potential for lawsuits. So one of the most misunderstood aspects of retail loss prevention is the requirement that suspects must attempt to leave the store before detention occurs. This is not arbitrary. It's rooted in law and liability because it's about intent. Under Ohio law, theft requires intent to deprive the owner of property. Someone concealing merchandise inside a store may still intend to pay. Once a suspect passes the final point of sale without paying, intent is established. That's why they have to wait for that person to leave. Detaining someone before exit exposes retailers to false imprisonment claims, wrongful detention lawsuits, and significant financial liability. So shopkeepers' privilege protection applies only when reasonable suspicion, intent, and reasonable detention are present. So here's the trade-off. Walmart accepts that some thieves will escape rather than risk detaining innocent customers. But this policy also means confrontation occurs after commitment to theft when stakes are highest, often in transitional or confined spaces. So there is that risk. But look at this right here. Walmart accepts that some thieves will escape rather than risk detaining innocent customers. That's how they weigh it. Has nothing to do with safety and security. The officers that are there, they're ready to engage, and they're prepared for any concerns related to safety and security. So if they feel someone is stealing, they are going to act on that. Someone had asked, is the exit requirement designed to protect innocent customers, actually increasing danger by ensuring confrontations happen at the moment suspects are most committed to escape? Because remember, look at that little area that they got. That's when this is where the person will feel trapped. That's why it's good to have law enforcement professionals, because this is going to be hands-on at this point. I think there is a greater potential for hands-on. So yes, it does increase danger, but it also prevents something worse, detaining innocent people. This is how Walmart looks at it. Walmart chooses legal certainty over tactical advantage. The downside is that once suspects cross that exit point, fear and desperation spike. That's when resistance is most likely. So it's a trade-off between legal protection and physical risk, and there's no perfect balance. So again, they have to wait for the person to go past all areas so they can say you got the intent to steal. That's the key. So you can't say you were wrongfully detained, whatever, because you walked out of the store with these items. But there's that small window, and it's a very small space. And at that point, if they feel that they're pushing a corner, that's when they're most volatile. That's why I believe having the law enforcement professionals there does benefit. It does create that balance, because, like, listen, if I have to go ahead and find balance with, I have to make sure I get the intent, and the way to get the intent, it's harder for them to argue when they go past all these areas. Sure, they could say, well, I forget I had it on me, but then you have the context of them hiding it and all this other stuff that shows that it strengthens the intent. So it adds to the intent of them leaving. So yes, I got you leaving, but we also have you doing these other behaviors. So definitely we have the intent. But now that becomes a little bit unsafe for employees to deal with them, because now this person's afraid of getting caught and they're going to run out. And the employees at Walmart don't really put their hands on them. So now it's like, well, what do we do here? Is now you put the law enforcement there, because you know that's where the risk gets heightened. So it makes sense. It is a fair balance. So why off-duty officers, the Walmart security model? So just to revisit, Walmart use of law enforcement officers addresses gaps retail employees cannot legally or safely fill. So the benefits, you have full arrest authority, use of force training, immediate criminal processing, deterrence through authority, and reduced employee confrontation. And I like that deterrence through authority, because when people know that there's a law enforcement officer there, they know that the interaction won't just stop in that little small area. The officer can go out a little further and handle it. But usually if you don't have that presence, then people could probably test it more, knowing that I just got to get here. And then if someone gives me an issue, I could just take off. They're not going to chase me. But when you have law enforcement there, they know that there's a risk there. So the limitations, again, we still have no advanced knowledge of weapons, no ability to screen suspects, no guarantee of backup, and no protection from sudden violence. So in this case, law enforcement was present during detention, and the officer's training and restraint played a critical role in preventing further harm. So this is more about reacting. So this is more about, okay, it's about safety once you got the person and how they're controlled. And that's kind of like a thing in corrections, right? Basically, once we have the person, now it's about how you control that individual. That's key. That's key, is now I have them. It's how I control them. That's why I don't know what you're about. I don't know what you have on you at this point. Do not move. Do not move, because at this point, anything that if you move, I take it as a threat. Because I don't know what you have. And look how quick that was. 5 seconds to get that gun right in his face. Could have killed him. That's why it's your life on the line, and you're adamant. Don't move. You're moving too much. Don't move. And the moment you move, you get on him. The moment he moves, you get on him. It would be good to have someone else have their hand on the guy, but maybe the person from Walmart couldn't do that. But if the guy keeps moving, I would definitely be putting my hands on that individual, but I would be giving him the guy directive. Stop moving, stop moving, stop moving. And now I'm going to secure you because you keep moving. And again, he said he was just going to release him, have him come back, but it is what it is. I think he was concerned because there was a warrant and he didn't want to go back in. So the question here is, does law enforcement presence create a false sense of security, or does it simply shift risk to trained professionals? It doesn't remove risk, it reallocates it. Officers are trained to manage violence and accept risk as part of the job. That doesn't mean they're immune to surprise or danger. It means when things go wrong, the response is more likely to be controlled and lawful. In this case, that training mattered, but it couldn't eliminate the unknown until the gun appeared. Even though I think that he could have just told him, stop moving. So the escalation inside the loss prevention office. Inside the loss prevention office, the situation escalated rapidly. According to police reports and media descriptions of body camera footage and what we saw, Shane Newman produced a handgun, aimed it at the officer, and pulled the trigger. The gun did not fire. Newman then appeared to manipulate the weapon, attempting to make it operable. This was not a threat. This was an attempted killing prevented only by mechanical failure. This was an attempted killing prevented only by mechanical failure. The small loss prevention officer became a kill box. The small loss prevention office became a kill box. Distance is gone, exits limited, reaction time nearly zero. The officer couldn't get cover. That guy, Conrad, saved the day, because that officer went in the train and tried to get a shot on him safely to get a shot on him. Because, again, if he would have shot and hit the woman, it would be a whole or the gun could go through a wall. Who knows on the other side of the wall? Remember, every time an officer shoots, they're in control of where that bullet goes. So if he would have missed, where'd the bullet go? It would not be a good idea to shoot in that close of a confinement. So eventually Conrad comes in, jumps on him, and then he's able to, because the gun was originally aimed at him first. So he's trying to duck and get out of the way. Conrad took advantage of that because the guy was distracted. He jumps on him, and then he's able to get cover and help. And he goes right in. Knee, fist, everything. So someone had asked, how does moving suspects into confined spaces amplify danger once lethal intent is revealed? And would this have been different in open environment? Confined spaces eliminate options. Distance, movement, and cover disappears. In an open environment, officers can reposition, disengage, or create space. In that room, once the gun came out, survival depended on seconds and luck. Would it have been safer outside? Possibly, but there are no guarantees. What's certain is that confined rooms magnify consequences, but be advised, you have too many people out there as well. So that heightens the risk for those that are not involved, the shoppers, the other employees. So they have to bring the person into some level of confined space. But here's the thing. The confined space, especially in my world in corrections, could work in the benefit of the officer if they control the person. If you don't control that person, the confined space works against you. So I want to make sure people are aware of that. So once I have that person in the confined space, I want absolute control of that individual. So again, you couldn't do things out in the open here because there's too much of a risk. So I get why they have to move them into a confined area. Plus, legally, they're, I guess it's more also of how things could look. So you want to do things that maintain the integrity of the process. Don't humiliate the person involved. I get all that. So I know that's part of it. But with that said, you have to balance it out. Now that you have the law enforcement aspect, we want more control of that individual in that confined space because, again, I don't have the access of a bigger area in case I need to escape. So I want to talk about the intervention in the officer's decision. A Walmart asset protection employee intervened, tackling Shane or Newman, whatever, and knocking the weapon away. With a civilian now physically on top of an armed suspect, the officer chose not to fire, later stating concerns about striking the employee. And that's obviously well thought by them. That's training. That's 100% training because, again, Conrad got on that person immediately, and that is right. That's the other risk if the officer would have shot. So now the officer was able to come in and engage physically with them. But Conrad is definitely a hero for so many reasons, not just protecting the life of the officer. He also saved the life of the person that tried to pull the gun out. Let's not lie there. He did, even though his intent was to protect that officer. In response to what Conrad did, he also saved the idiot that pulled out the gun, and then he probably saved the girl that was next to him if the gun would have went off. So that was Conrad's a hero in so many ways. Maybe one day, if you guys know him, you can come on the show and we could discuss it. But they have to have the investigation, all that stuff. I get it. I know how this all works. Instead, the officer went hands-on using physical control techniques with assistance from store staff. Newman was restrained and handcuffed. Deadly force was legally justified. Discipline and restraint prevented tragedy. And I love how the officer said I went for his face. All right, it is what it is. We get, use of force has these areas that you can hit, the green areas and the red areas, and face is usually not a green area, but it is. In this case, it is, because this isn't about restraint. This was about survival. Then it became restraint. Remember that. Use of force is ugly. But with that said, restraint wasn't the first thing in these officers' mind or in Conrad's mind, even though he's not with the use of force, more of the officer. But I'm not looking to restrain you at this moment. I'm looking to survive. So I'm coming at you with everything I can to survive, and that's my right to do that. And then eventually, when I feel the threat has lessened, then I could start figuring out how to restrain. So someone asked, how does civilian intervention complicate use of force decisions, and should retailers expect it or discourage it? Civilian intervention changes everything. Once a civilian is in the fight, every force option becomes riskier. Policy can discourage intervention, but people act instinctively in life or death moments. That employee, Conrad, acted bravely, but their involvement forced the officer into an impossible calculation between stopping a threat and protecting an innocent person. But being objective here, that Conrad saved that officer's life. So Conrad did the right thing because he acted on instinct to save that officer's life, to save the life of everybody in that room. So again, Conrad is a hero, just presenting another perspective, but Conrad 100% is the hero. He acted immediately and did what he could to protect everybody in that room. I know he had a second where he was wondering what was coming out, and then he just jumped. It just instinctively. And I hope they do recognize him. So Newman was identified as a convicted felon, legally prohibited from possessing firearms due to prior convictions, including aggravated drug possession. This resulted in the charge having a weapon under disability, meaning the crime existed the moment he possessed the gun. Officers also reported recovering approximately 50 blue pills suspected to be MDMA at the time of arrest. Charging documents will determine whether this results in an additional drug offense. Walmart employees had no way to know any of this before the gun appeared, and this is not a Walmart failure. It's a structural reality of retail loss prevention. So the question here was, how does prior felony history and illegal firearm possession shift responsibility away from policy failures, and can any policy realistically close that gap? No retail policy can detect a hidden gun or predict lethal intent. Newman was already prohibited from possessing a firearm. That danger existed before anyone interacted with him. Responsibility lies with the individual who made those choices. Closing that gap would require turning retail stores into secured facilities, which isn't realistic, even though people are trying it. Some places do have metal detectors when they go in, but some people don't want that because they don't want to looks like it's a war zone. But I mean, this would be a good way to kind of revisit things and see, well, how did he get into the store with a gun to begin with? So that's one of the questions that they're going to have to answer and look at. Basically he got into the store with a gun. So it's not so much him being in that confined room, but he got into the store with a gun. Is there something there we have to revisit? So I'm sure that will be discussions. Katerina Jeffrey, that's the female here. She did not handle the firearm and is not accused of violence. She was charged with complicity to commit robbery. So now they're making it robbery. And I believe that's probably because there was a weapon on him. I believe that could be the case, why it's changing into robbery. Let me just double check. So maybe it's a robbery charge. I'm just guessing because the robbery, the presence and use of the gun is exactly why this became a robbery charge. That's what I was thinking. So the legal difference matters. Shoplifting or theft equals taking property without force or threat. Robbery equals theft combined with force, threat, or intimidation. The moment force or a weapon is introduced, the crime automatically escalates. So that'll be interesting in court because they try to break down everything. Was he using the gun to try to escape, or was he using it to take off with the items? Having the gun changes everything. In this case, the theft began as shoplifting. During detention, Newman produced a firearm. He aimed it at a police officer. He pulled the trigger. Under Ohio law, the sequence satisfies robbery because force or threat was used. The force was connected to the theft, attempted to escape detention. Oh, there you go. There you go. So they'll connect that to the theft. And a deadly weapon was involved, even though the gun did not fire, intent and threat are enough. So he just upped the charge for her. So she could be looking at serious time too. So a common misconception is that theft was already over, so the gun shouldn't count. That's what I was thinking. That's wrong legally. In Ohio and most states, force used during flight or escape still counts. That's why we learn in the moment. The robbery does not have to happen at the register, and violence during detention is still part of the theft offense. So the gun didn't just add charge. It redefined the crime itself. So now if she gets another lawyer, the argument's going to be if she knew the gun was on him. And that's going to be hard probably to prove either way. This is why Katerina Jeffrey was charged with complicity to commit robbery, not shoplifting, because under the law, if robbery is the final offense, anyone knowingly participating in the theft can be charged at the robbery level. She was not charged with attempted murder because the level of violence was not foreseeable. Prosecutors drew a line between theft, escalation, and lethal intent. I honestly may not think she knew about the guy. I mean, there are certain things she said on the camera when he pulled it out that makes me think she may not have known he had the gun. I don't think this was planned. The gun didn't just increase the severity, it legally transformed the crime. Without the gun, this is likely a misdemeanor or low-level felony theft, which is what the cop kind of said. With the gun, it becomes robbery, plus attempted murder, plus weapon disability, because he shouldn't be carrying a weapon, plus assault on a peace officer. So that's interesting. But I don't think he knew. So again, that's something that's going to be interesting. You may see parts in the video because I would assume they would be best in their best interest to be represented by separate lawyers, at least for Katerina. And you'll see some ways that she reacted in that video that makes me think she didn't know he had a gun on him. So I would push that. So even though she may have been an accessory or complicit with the theft, I don't think this was part of the plan. Let's see. So wait, where's Katerina? So we talked about what he got caught with. So Newman was identified as a convicted felon legally prohibited from possessing firearms due to prior convictions, including aggravated drug possession. This resulted in the charge having a weapon under disability, meaning the crime existed the moment he possessed the gun. Officers also, we did that part. This is not a Walmart failure. It's a structural reality of retail loss prevention. So again, he was caught with 50 blue pills, suspected to be MDMA. At the time of the arrest, charging documents will determine whether this results in an additional drug offense. Walmart employees had no way to know any of this before the gun appeared. This is not a Walmart. Okay, gotcha. So we did question, right? How does prior felony history and illegal firearm possession shift responsibility away from policy failure? And any policy realistically closes the gap. No retail policy can detect the hidden gun. We read all this. Sorry, guys. Then we did about Katerina Jeffrey. Under Ohio law, complicity applies only to reasonably foreseeable acts. So Katerina Jeffrey did not handle the firearm and is not accused of violence. She was charged with complicity to commit robbery. Under Ohio law, complicity applies only to reasonably foreseeable acts. Prosecutors did not charge her with attempted murder, recognizing the escalation exceeded what she could have anticipated. So where does shared criminal responsibility end when one person suddenly escalates to lethal violence? It ends at foreseeability. Theft participation does not automatically mean responsibility for attempted murder. Prosecutors clearly believe Newman's actions were unilateral and unforeseeable to Jeffrey, and the charges related reflect that distinction. And then you got the charges, bond, and the court response. So Newman faces attempted murder, felonious assault on a peace officer, robbery, drug-related offenses, and that's pending confirmation, and having a weapon under disability. Bond was set at $1 million. Jeffrey's bond was set at $500,000. Bond reflects intent, danger, and risk, not luck. I think, though, they're going to go a little bit easy on her, I think, and they're going to basically put all their efforts on him. So we'll see if they're going to put premeditation or was this just sudden, because they're going to ask that too. Did you come in planning to kill anybody that day for something? Why'd you have the gun? Explain to us why you had the gun. That's going to be interesting. Sometimes they'll say they had the gun because he's carrying supplies and he doesn't want to get, or carrying drugs and he doesn't want to get robbed, so he carries the gun for protection. But that's going to be a nice back and forth. But you definitely get the premeditation in my mind, or the intent to kill, unquestionable. When he pulled it, you hear him pulling the trigger, and then he tries to set it up to do it again. So I wouldn't even worry too much about that prior. They got enough right in that exact moment. It didn't go off, and yet you still continued to push. Should intent carry the same weight as outcome when only mechanical failure prevented a killing? Yes, the justice system focuses on intent because outcomes can be influenced by luck. Newman pulled the trigger. The failure of the gun doesn't reduce the danger or the intent behind the act. And last part, Walmart policy. Are there any questions here that had to be answered? So this case raises questions not about blame, but about risk. Retail theft now includes armed suspects, repeat offenders, drug influence, and high-stakes sentencing fear. No policy can eliminate unpredictability. What this case is not is proof Walmart policy failed, evidence employees acted improperly, or an argument to stop detention. What this case is policy colliding with reality, a near miss with lethal consequences, and a demonstration of human courage and restraint. So last question here was, does this incident require policy change or deeper public understanding of the risk retail workers and officers already absorb? This incident doesn't demand panic reform. It demands honesty. Routine doesn't mean safe. Retail workers and officers absorb risk the public rarely sees. That reality deserves acknowledgement. I love this. It doesn't need panic reform because the news will sensationalize this. So final takeaway, this was not a gun malfunction that saves lives. It was a Walmart employee who ran towards a gun. It was an officer who held fire when most would not. And it was policy colliding with reality and people surviving by inches. So a Walmart employee saving a life and an officer who knew enough to hold from shooting. So much here. Great discussion in my mind, and a little bias here, but again, guys, I'm learning with you. So I'm learning in the process. As always, guys, the show's Tear Talk. If you like the content, please feel free to buy me a cup of coffee. I have the link to that in the description as well on top of the YouTube channel. As always, guys, stay safe.